Welcome to this week's episode of Convos. We're your hosts, Sheila and Maya Dunne, and today we are going to be talking to Hildie Steiner, who is an independent educational advisor working with high school students to help them navigate the college landscape and the college application process. Hildie's also a volunteer at the New Jersey IECA Chapter and a member of the New Jersey Association of College Admissions. So she is going to be a great person to talk to today about raising college debt, careers post-graduation, and just also offering some more tips and advice for how to get the most out of your college experience.
Yeah, so Hildie's based in Morris County, New Jersey area, but she works with students via Zoom all across the country. And she's the founder of High Five College Prep. And so she's the perfect person to be talking about basically college as a whole and how to find the right college for you and how to really, like Maya said, make the most of your college experience, no matter where you end up.
Yeah, so grab a drink and enjoy.
Hey guys, this is Sheila and Maya Dunne, and you're listening to Convos. Let's get it done, bitches.
Welcome to Convos. Thanks so much for being here, Hildie.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Could you tell us what it means to be quote unquote college ready?
So to be college ready really means, are you an advocate for yourself? If you have a roommate and you guys get in an argument, can you communicate in a calm, sort of mature-ish way to help things with your roommate? If you don't feel good, do you have the ability to say, hey, I'm not really feeling so good, I should probably go see a doctor? Or you failed an exam, or you turned in a paper, an assignment late, and now you have to deal with those consequences. Do you yourself, as a freshman student or college student, have the courage and bravery to kind of own it and go to your professor and be like, yeah, I made a mistake, or, I know I studied 30 hours for this exam. Is there anything else I can do to help myself for the next exam? So I think being a really good self-advocate is part of being college ready. I think also lots of students have never left their house, and college might be their first time away from home. So I think a young person needs to be able to sort of peel back that layer of mom and dad always around, and guidance counselors always around, and everyone around them sort of supporting them, because now for the first time, they need to be able to support themselves on a college campus.
Right. With just curious, with these advocating for yourself, do you think you need to have that before you get there? Or is it something you can learn, I don't know, like your first year?
I'm going to be honest. I think it's a combination. I think when you're 17, 18 years old or 19 going to college as a freshman, you're scared and nervous, right? So you don't have that much confidence, generally speaking, in yourself. Mm-hmm. So no, are you going to be the best advocate? You're not going to be great at it, for sure not. You're definitely going to call one of your parents, a brother, a sister, an older sibling, an older friend, be like, oh my God, this happened. What do I do now? 100%. But I think you have to have enough communication skills and sort of some sort of self-confidence or self-worth to be okay to leave and manage your emotional, social, and new geographical setting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And when you work with students, they're usually junior year, senior year?
I actually start with many students sophomore year. Okay. And the reason I start sophomore year is so there's time to sort of give the student some encouragement and guidance to explore and try new things, whether it's a new club, maybe take an elective in high school, like principles of engineering, to see if they like that, and thus they might major in it when they go to college. Sophomore year in high school is a great year for exploration. So I love working with students then. However, I also, of course, work with students junior year. You just can't make as many changes on your exploration path because you're already a junior and you're sort of going to be starting with test prepping, you know, working really hard maybe to get your GPA up and doing other things. So the optimal time to start with a college advisor, I think, is sophomore year. However, I work with juniors, and I will be honest, I even work with seniors who are sort of late to the game. And I also want the audience to know, for me personally, I'm a glass half full person. So you guys are entrepreneurial women. You know, you can't sort of wallow in your misery or think about your mistake. You need to say, okay, this is where I am. What do I need to do to get to the finish line, right? So I'm sure you guys go through that all the time in your businesses and in your podcasts and all the different entrepreneurial things you both do. So you can't look backwards. So we just sort of jump in and get the job done. And I assist students with that process, whether they're sophomores or seniors, but optimally the bulk of the students I work with are sophomores and juniors.
You mentioned kind of like wherever you are, you have to think about the finish line. So what is like the finish line in this sense? What's the ideal when you work with a student, whether it's starting in sophomore year or senior year? The ultimate goal, is that to find the perfect college fit, or what's like a case study or a success story of?
So the ultimate goal is for the high school student to feel good about their college applications and the effort that they've put forward to the college. That's the number one goal. When you guys, when high school students as a senior, hit the send button, I call it, and send out their applications, you know, we don't have a lot of control of admissions. There's no control of admissions, period. You just don't know what a college is looking for when they're shaping their freshman class specifically. So the goal working with for a high school student is to really just work hard on your applications, show admissions, your character, who you are as a person. They see that you got an A in biology or calculus or physics. What they don't know is that you're a really resilient person, or you run a foundation outside of the high school for, you know, autistic children or someplace else in the world. They don't know about you. So your goal, really a good finish line, to your point, is when a high school student is proud of the applications that they have put forth to colleges. That is the number one. And I always suggest be your authentic self. Like, who are you? You know, not who is my friend or I want to be like that person. Be yourself. You just want to, you know, kind of be chill, be yourself, and sort of get it on paper in your essays, in your resume. You know, I'm a very big proponent when I work with students. What's meaningful to you? What do you like to do in and out of school? You might have a hobby like crocheting that you don't even realize is really important to you. You do it because you just do it. But if you take the time to really think about the things you do outside of school, you'd be surprised about how many wonderful things you as a student actually do, and things that you can create and your gift that you're giving to others. So that would be my finish line. College fit really should be based on a few different things. One, financial affordability. Can you afford that college? That is how you make a college list. You don't start saying, hey, I want to go to Penn State. Hey, I want to go to Colgate. Hey, I want to go to Cornell. What you should understand first is, how much is it going to cost for me to go to college? Yeah. Did my family save for college, or am I responsible solely? So I think the number one thing is, when a family is building a college list, the thing you should start with first is affordability. Is this school affordable? And what does that mean exactly? The next thing with fit is really academic fit. Am I going to be challenged at this particular college or university? The thing after that is socially. Are there kids like me on campus, or am I completely different? You know, if you're really an extroverted, go-getter kind of person, you don't really want to be on a campus that's more quiet and relaxed, where there's more introverted students. You sort of want to be where the action is because that's your natural being. You know, if you thrive in a city, then it would be important for you to have affordable colleges in or near a city because you use your city as your classroom. So for example, again, we're still talking about fit. If you play an instrument or you do improv, and yes, you might do it on your college campus, but you might look to a city to continue to do those things on weekends or at night so you can practice your craft. So I think it runs the gamut of fit, but the main thing would be affordability, social, academic, and then last one more thing is geographical. If you also have family responsibilities and you know you're taking care of people within your family, but you still have the ability to go to college, you might want to just be an hour away versus 4 hours or a plane ride away. So I think all those things move together in unison. I don't think it's not one thing, it's everything together in unison, which then helps a family to figure out what is their college list, what is a good fit for me.
On the first one that you mentioned, affordability, talking to a sophomore, junior, senior in high school who might not have family really helping them, like they just don't have the experience and they're not able to work with someone on it, what's the best way to look at, okay, what can I afford? And then also, I know for me, at least from experience, when I was looking at schools and trying to like figure out the pricing, it was actually hard for me to know how much the school was going to cost me. Is there anything you can kind of almost teach about that? Because I still don't.
Yes. And there's a little bit of good news in the horizon. So my first piece of advice, if there is no money saved for college, like just zero, whether it's the parents or the student independently, a student should consider going to community college because it will be their most affordable path to jump into the college education. And if you go to community college, you do not have to take a full load. You could take 12 credits, for example, and leave room to work, to earn money, to help save or support yourself while you were doing that. You can then transfer after 2 years of a community college. You can then look to transfer to a 4-year institution. And for people listening, when you go to get a job, it doesn't say I went to community college for 2 years. You just get a degree from the 4-year institution that says you went to George Washington University or whatever the school is that you transferred to. So I want to tell families and students, don't be embarrassed or feel bad that you haven't saved money for 4 or 5 years of a 4-year institution. And there is no shame and nothing wrong with going to community college. So that's first. If there is some money saved or you don't want to start with community college, every college website has what's called the net price calculator. It's called MPC. And the net price calculator is where you plug in some numbers from your taxes, as well as sometimes GPA, sometimes other scores. And then the college will spit out what's called the expected family contribution, or EFC. And that is not a perfect number, but a number that gives students an idea of how much it will cost to attend that college. In my world of high five college prep, I always tell my students, add at least another $5,000 to the EFC because it's not usually a home run. That number is not a home run. However, in the coming years, the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A, which I'm sure you guys both filled out, right? When you apply to college, are changing some of the rules for students so it's less confusing. And colleges in the next couple of years on their websites will have to be very transparent for all the college costs. So you're not sort of trying to, get through murky waters. It should be very clear and concise for a 10th grader, 11th grader, or even a senior to say, if I go to this college, exactly how much is it going to cost me versus trying to figure it out. One other piece of advice is if you're not sure, call the financial aid department of XYZ college or university and introduce yourself and say, how much is it to come to your school? Not just tuition, but room and board, miscellaneous fees, other hidden costs, parking. Families don't realize that, oh, we could take a car freshman year to campus, but parking is hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right, not including the tickets you get because you didn't move your car, right?
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, though, that they're going to try to make it more transparent. I know I definitely felt like it was like reversed. Like I had to apply first, then figure out how much I was going to pay. And that never really seemed intuitive to me. But
and it's mind-blowing to me that I remember the CSS profile costs money to fill out and submit. And that's literally to help you get aid for a school. So it doesn't make any sense to me. And then it can be expensive even to apply to all these colleges. So I think it's amazing to have it transparent and front and center before a student makes that commitment. We were just talking, me and Maya, how when we jumped into Colgate, we definitely had different expectations of the final cost that it would be. And there certainly would have been cheaper options. So I think, it's really important that a high school student has the education and the awareness that there's different costs associated. It's not just tuition, year to year it can change unless you get like a 4-year commitment. Right. So what would you advise a student who, let's say they have 4 or 5 offers and one of them is going to they'll end with $20,000 in debt. One of them, they'll end with $50,000 in debt. And then one of them, maybe they'll end in that $70,000 of debt or so. How do you justify a college decision from a money standpoint?
In my professional experience, I think going into debt for an undergraduate degree is not the best move. However, I know that many families and students do not always have enough money saved for a college education, which I respect. I would pick the school that would offer the student the least amount of debt if you're going to take out loans. And I would take out the least amount, because there's a saying, it doesn't matter where you go to college, it's what you do when you get there. So if it's okay, I'm going to springboard right into that. And it goes with, not having college debt. Mm-hmm. When you go to a college campus, you're not just maturing and growing, but you want to learn how to network. You want to learn how to make connections with professors and different faculty, different just overall staff on campus. You, of course, hope to make some great lifelong friends, right? And you have all different friends from different clubs and organizations you join, from your classmates, from your, maybe fraternity, sorority, or what have you. So your campus becomes not just your community academically, but your community for your future.
Right.
That was good, right? Okay, it becomes your community for the future. So if you really reflect when you come out of college years later and you're in debt, you don't want to be in debt, because you probably can learn those skills at any college you go to, as long as you, the student, put yourself out there and you're not, and you sort of, this is a great saying, by the way, ready? You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Great entrepreneurial phrase, right? Yeah. Comfortable being uncomfortable. It's the same when you go to college. If you stay in your bubble, you're not going to grow, right? You're going to be sort of nervous, which is fine to be nervous. We're all nervous, right? About different things. You need a little anxiousness to propel you out of your comfort zone, right? So you want to use that energy to your advantage. So you want to network and do all these other things on a college campus. Yes, a degree from a school means something for sure. And there are a handful of large companies across the United States that do go pick students from different business schools right across the country. Let's just be honest with each other, from, you know, top business schools, top engineering programs. But the truth is, it doesn't matter where you go to college. It matters what you do when you get there, who you meet, how you navigate, the friendships and relationships you build, any jobs or internships that you do, putting yourself out there. And truthfully, you could do that at any school. If there's a niche program, that is a little bit of a different story. If you have some gift and skill set that can only be blossomed at certain colleges, then that might make sense in some cases to take on a drop more debt than normal, whatever normal is. But overall, if you're an undecided student or just a marketing student or psychology major, sociology, it doesn't really matter. What actually would matter more is the location of the school, right? To then feed your soul and feed your goals. So you would be outside of the classroom using the city, the town, or let's say you want to, you know, do pre-vet medicine or sustainability. You might want to be near a farm, right? Where they're growing produce and there's animals. That makes sense in that case, right? But doesn't mean you need to go into debt to do that per se, if that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, I would actually completely agree with you. And I think that's something I wish somebody had said to me, because I did have kind of that idea that a name brand school was important. But for people who have that opinion, or for somebody, I could imagine arguing back to that, like, you're going to have more opportunities at a name brand school, you're going to be able to meet more people. What would be kind of your response to that and to combat that?
I think meeting people is not a name brand school thing. It's a you thing, right? It's you, the student. Right. You know, you could go to one of the top 30 colleges, universities in the United States or globally and get there and be a clam and be afraid to speak. So now you're not really meeting anyone. You might have this degree, but you're not putting yourself out there, right? You're not comfortable being uncomfortable. You're sort of sheltered in your room, sort of nervous, totally happens, you know, and you might be a late bloomer and bloom after college. So now where does a brand name school come in? I think, again, in certain industries or cities across the country, there's a small handful of schools that might open a door to, you know, when you graduate college, it might open a door and someone might say, wow, you graduated from XYZ school. I'm going to give you the interview. But at the end of the day, when you're sitting in that interview, you, the student, need to bring the goods, right? You need to bring your enthusiasm, your expertise in something, your skill set. So did it matter that you went to a brand name school? Maybe your first year or so, your first job, you know, it might open some doors the first 1 or 2 years. But after that, it is proven that it doesn't matter where you go to school, because it's your skill set, your personality, your critical thinking skills, your problem solving skills, other things that we could talk about that employers want when they hire a college graduate.
Something I would always look at is like the average. And it's funny because now I started my own business, so it doesn't apply to me, but like the average salary for a fresh out of college graduate at these different universities, like maybe a top 30 might be higher than a state school on average. Do you think that matters?
I mean, I think it just depends on the goals of the student, you know, and their interests. It's, you know, sure, who doesn't want to make a lot of money? Let's be honest, you know. But you know, where you begin is not where you end. We all have to have a beginning job, right? Mm-hmm. If you're an entrepreneur, that's a whole different ballgame, because your skill set and mindset is very different than just someone that wants to graduate with a history degree from a 4-year institution, right? So it really is a personal decision. And it also depends on, you could go to a name brand school. It doesn't mean you're stepping into an industry that pays that high salary.
Right, definitely.
The industry definitely will dictate a lot of time your salary. You know, there's that old saying, you got to start at the bottom and then climb your way to the top. So I don't know that, I mean, it depends on your industry. You know, if you're going into maybe investment banking and then you're going to a top 20 business school in the United States, yes, that would definitely hold true. Let's just be honest. You know, if you're going to work for a Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan or one of those top financial advising firms, they're looking at top students from top business schools. But that is a very small amount of students in the scheme of college students.
Yeah, I kind of also, we're along the lines of what Sheila was saying. I find it really interesting, this misconception with college where it's like, I'm going to go to this college and I'm going to have this job, or if I go to this college, I'm going to get this job. But I think people kind of equate college to a job, even though not just going to a college is going to put you in a job. And then they're like, well, I'll just go to grad school and then I'll get a job right after grad school. But, you know, there's so many other pieces of it, of course, as obviously, you know, but so kind of on that, what can people do in college, whether it's, you know, boosting their resume or career services or making connections? What are some actionable items a college student today could go do tomorrow to help?
So I think college students should really befriend their professors and other faculty. It could be your lab, your science lab, you know, faculty person, or it could be your political science professor, depending on your major. And I think it's about building relationships. And you guys know this. Networking and building relationships while you're in college is definitely up there as, you know, top to do, things to do, right? Don't be shy. Put yourself out there. My father always taught me this: never be afraid to ask. Always ask questions. The worst anyone would say is no or sorry. So if you're a college student, as you mature, maybe not freshman year, but by junior year, you should be comfortable enough in your skin at that point. And you want to start talking to your professors, talk to your friends, ask them, hey, what business is your dad in? Hey, you know, you have that brother who owns a textile company. I'm thinking of going into manufacturing. Could you hook me up with them? Like, don't be shy. Ask questions to friends, to faculty. Another thing I think is doing internships or summer jobs, or if you have the opportunity during, I mean, the pandemic has sort of upended a lot of things, but when hopefully this sort of is behind us, for a college student, I think starting clubs, going, you know, being part of organizations and networking into the communities of your college too. There's lots of businesses in and around a college campus. So, you know, and you just never know who you're going to meet. So I think my number one advice is don't be afraid, put yourself out there, literally talk to everybody and ask questions. As far as career services, so the hope in the college world of admissions, and me as a counselor working with high school students, is we're hoping that career services at different colleges are going to up their game and really put more time and money into it, because colleges are expensive and students are taking out a lot of debt. That really the career services is a bigger part of this picture versus the beautiful lazy river that's on campus, or the recreational center that has 50 new Pelotons. Like, nothing against those. Of course, we love exercising. That's great. But the exercise equipment is not landing you a job after college. So you want a strong career services center. And a lot of times it's run by undergraduate students. Well, when you go to make your appointment, tell them you want you don't want an undergraduate student. You want an employee that is at the top of the career services department. You want to make an appointment with them. You want to learn how to make a good resume, to highlight your strengths. Remember that. Highlight your strengths in that resume. You want to learn how to interview. You want to learn how to write a cover letter. And then something that I do also in my practice is I teach college students that are looking for internships, or when they're getting ready to leave school and they don't have a job, or they're overwhelmed or confused, you need to know how to research opportunities. You have to create your opportunities. You can't just go to Indeed and there it is, job for Maya, job for Sheila, and be like, perfect, I'm just going to apply there. That's not how it goes. So you should also look for mentorships, someone you could shadow when you're in college in an industry you're thinking of. Shadowing is amazing. Even if you have to do Zoom shadowing because of the pandemic, go for it. You know, put yourself out there and try to find people in industries or companies that you're thinking your skills, your authentic self and your skills and your mind, your academic mind would be a good fit for. And don't be afraid to call those companies and call those, and basically you got to pound the pavement and ask maybe for a shadowing opportunity, but you need to do research. That's the other piece of looking for a career. If it's something that, you know, is not created by, like you guys created your own path, if you're not going to create your own path in an entrepreneurial sense, and you're going to have a more traditional job, before you go into that job, do research. Is that a good fit for you?
Right.
I actually just had someone, a high school student, reach out to me because she saw what I was doing and she was inspired and said, I want to do what you do. And I was, you know, we're a very small agency, so no one's really doing that. You know, I was very, like, I was like, wow, I would love to help you. I would love to.
You're flattered.
Yeah, I was flattered. Exactly. So, I mean, people, and she's a junior in high school. So, I mean, as young as that, you know, you can start reaching out to people.
100%.
These business owners, or even just, you know, people working at these organizations are more than likely going to be very happy to help you out in some regard. So
you have become a mentor. Look at you, Sheila. High five.
It was very cute. Yeah, I was like, you know, I had a phone call with her. She sent me her resume. You know, I just think taking that initiative shows a lot about the person. And I think that's the advice you're suggesting, but people don't, you know, I don't think as many people as should be are taking this advice seriously and really putting in the work to do it.
Right. Yeah.
It takes some courage and confidence to do these things. Mm-hmm. I think one of my strengths as a private college advisor to high school students is that I try to give them courage to do different things. Mm-hmm. So over the years that they're working with me, by the time they're ready, they've sort of grown and learned through the process. So they're ready to sort of be like, okay, I could take this on. I'm going to try that. Again, it goes back to giving yourself permission to explore, whether you're in high school or college. You know, the more people you talk to, the different types of jobs or internships you have, you know, the different classes you take, try to, you know, get out into the community, meet different people to talk to. The more people you talk to, the more you learn. Mm-hmm. But anyway, high five, Sheila. I love the story that you just said about the high school student reaching out to you. And that means you and, you know, you're making an impact on others and you're a young person. So that's beautiful. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was great. And I mean, I think, you know, you got to kind of think about worst case scenario. You know, I could have just not responded, or when I reached out to one of my mentors, like they could easily ignore me, but you know, I'll take those chances. It's not really too big of a loss. And then sort of tying into what you said too, being comfortable with the uncomfortable. I also think it should be very encouraged for students to be uncomfortable being comfortable. Like if things are going easy, figure out a way to make them, like, put yourself in a challenge. It's similar, but you never want to be too comfortable either. You know, pushing yourself is
because kind of when you're too comfortable, right, you're not pushing yourself. You sort of aren't making mistakes and you're not learning the way, which is what you're saying, right?
So what do you think is one of the most important networking skills, or things that make someone a good networker?
Well, are we networking via Zoom or emails or in person? So let's say in pre-pandemic and hopefully post-pandemic, I think making eye contact with somebody is a great skill. Mm-hmm. Shaking hands, if we're ever allowed to do that again, hopefully, or high-fiving or elbowing or fist bumping, whatever the new du jour is going to be. Smiling, you know, have a little emotion in your face that gives a positive aura. I think when you're networking, people want someone that looks like they have a positive attitude, that they're coming with enthusiasm, not overly, but enough that, hey, I want to continue to talk to that person. Yeah. So I think eye contact, positive energy or attitude. And when you're networking, if you know who you're going to be networking with, know their company, know their industry, and know a little bit about them. And that's very easy to do, because you could go on LinkedIn and you can search Hildie Steiner or Maya or Sheila, right? And somewhere in your social media platforms that have your profile, there'll be a nugget of information about you. And that's a great way. So when you go to meet somebody, if you do a little research on that person that you're meeting with, or you're going to have a Zoom meeting with, know something, just something about them, which shows that you're interested. Mm-hmm. And when you're networking and you did your research, positive attitude, good eye contact, why wouldn't they want to talk to you?
Right. What is one of the most frequent mistakes you see when working with high school students or college students in regards to like making the most out of their college once they get there?
So I'm going to separate that, if that's okay. When high school students are researching colleges, in order to not make a big mistake, they really need to hone in on who am I? What do I like? What are my goals? Even if they're undecided, look for a school that maybe is in a climate that you can use your hobby, like skiing or snowboarding. You would want to maybe be in a winter climate that you can also join a ski club or a snowboarding club, which makes your college experience a little more exciting. And then you meet like-minded people that like to do that, for example. We have to go back to affordability. If you choose a school that's too expensive and you matriculate to that college, you might like it, but you might leave with so much debt that it's choking you for so many years. And then you can't take it back. You can't say, I don't want to pay it, So I think, again, as a high school student, you want to really do the research on your college list to make sure it meets affordability, social, geographical, and academic fit. For a college student who's in college, if you're not really happy, you feel like you made a mistake, you could transfer. It's not the end of the world. I was a transfer student, in fact. I started out in one place, but I ended up somewhere else, because I'll be so transparent with you guys. I have a lot of energy, because you couldn't tell that, and a lot of enthusiasm. And I love cities, but I didn't go to school in a city to start with. I went to school where it was just more laid back and not really for me. It was not a good personality fit, because I really didn't fight for my authentic self enough. And so I floundered when I began. When I left and I transferred to a big city, my world opened up, because it fit my person, the things I liked to do. I liked culture, museums. I liked, dancing back when, we used to dance a lot. I mean, I love dancing. Do you guys like dancing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love dancing. I loved museums and all these different things. And I needed to sort of be where the action was, not just academically, but just that aura. I needed the energy. For me, I needed the city at the time provided me with energy, which made me happy, which allowed me to thrive more in college. So I think it's really important for all students in high school to really be true to yourself and be your authentic self.
And how can people, because I think this is very awesome advice and people are going to have a lot more questions, how can people learn more about High Five College Prep or just connect with you?
So I have a great website, highfivecollegeprep.com. You can read about me there, and you can schedule. I do free 30-minute consultations for students and families, so you can sign up there. You can email me, Hildie at highfivecollegeprep.com. I also have an Instagram page, High Five College Prep, as well as an active professional Facebook page where I post different information on the college landscape, what employers are looking for college students after college, and all different information.
Well, we're just out of time here, but thank you so much, Hildie, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it, and we're super excited to share this information with our audience.
Thank you so much, Maya and Sheila, for having me. It was awesome.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys, so much for watching. We're going to be releasing episodes weekly, and we're trying to hit the bar. So we're going to peace out. Be sure to like, subscribe, all the other things, all the social medias. Comment, share, retweet, copy, paste link. Isn't that the TikTok thing? Just full send it. Get it done. Get it done. Get us some likes, guys. Hope you guys enjoy.